What's going on, everybody? It's your boy JustDaNorm. Hope you all feeling good today. I was up here working on a new song. It was really not a new song, but it's a song that I actually wrote a long time ago, back when I was about 13 years old. And it was one of the songs that I started recording back when I lived with my parents, and my dad had his own studio, so I recorded it, but lost the audio, computer crash, you know how it goes basically. So anyway, I was working with that song earlier, and I was trying to record a drum beat again. No, I am a drummer, but I'm not playing drums on this song. I was playing drums on the keyboard, and sometimes you might be off a little bit, and it happens to everybody. If you run into a problem like this where it feels like your music is like not quite in sync like you want it to, and you try to record a million times and it's still not quite right, and you want to adjust it, stay tuned for this session. Cakewalk tricks and tips. In this session, I'm going to show you how to quantize, show you how to go into the notation and actually set what note is supposed to be what note based off of some numbers that we're going to use. And it's all dealing with addition or multiplication, whichever you want to use, but this will hopefully help you out so that way you can kind of set your beat or set your song the way you really want it to. Maybe sometimes you want it to be late, you want it to be behind the beat, you want it to be ahead of the beat, you want it to be perfectly in sync. So whatever the options are, hopefully this helps you out. All right. Okay, all right, we're back, and I'm gonna go ahead and get this going. So I pulled up my Cakewalk, and this is actually the same Cakewalk tutorial. If you haven't checked out my other tutorials that I did, one I did a few days ago and one I did the week before. The first one was dealing with how to make a beat using your keyboard, your computer keyboard that is. And the second one is dealing with OBS and learning how to set up your DAW for streaming, particularly Cakewalk by Bandlab. On this particular one, I told you today that, hey, if you've been having trouble with trying to get everything in sync, and a lot of times it has to do with latency. Latency is one of the things that we deal with quite often when we're recording in a digital audio workstation. But you also have problems just being human, because we don't always think like right here 0, 2, 6, 8, we don't think right on numbers all the time. So we might be a little ahead of the beat, we might be behind the beat, and that's okay, because sometimes that's the feel that you're going for, but sometimes you don't want it to be that obvious. You want it to be kind of felt but not heard. So this is what we're going to work on today. Now, if you all recall, those that checked out that video, and if you haven't checked out the other video, that very first video of making a beat with your keyboard, I had these tracks that you see here, and I made 3 tracks, and none of them were really in sync with each other, but I let it go with it. And last time on my second video, I made another beat with the keyboard as well, but this time I just made a separate beat, and this one was more in sync because I'm using ASIO drivers. So the first tip is make sure that you're using the right type of drivers, and that you have it set up correctly in your software. You can go up to Edit, you can go to Preferences, and you can go to Driver Settings, and then you got the ASIO panel here. Or if you go to Playback and Recording, you can set it to ASIO or MME, Wasapi, or whichever WDMS. Now, I told you all before last time, I have it set now to ASIO, and hopefully you're able to hear everything okay. I feel like sometimes it's still a little glitchy. That might be just my system, or maybe I need to tweak it some more. So I'm still working with this thing. It's still fairly new to me. So as I learn more information, I'll definitely get it to you all. So keep this in mind. Make sure you set it to whatever driver works best for you in that situation. Years ago, before ASIO came on the scene, WDMS, Windows Media used to be the thing. Before that, MME was it. So in some cases, MME is great. Only thing about MME is that the latency is still off, even though how much you adjust it. You can adjust it here with the buffer size. So as you slide this over, safe, is going to mean more latency. So just keep that in mind. And as you put it faster, it's going to be quicker to respond, but it might put more toll on your resources, on your memory, on your storage. So that's some things. And then also, even though we like to sample at a higher rate because it adds more body, gives more depth. I'm at 48 right now, and normally I don't even be at 48. I'm normally at 44, but you can go in here and change the sample rate 44.1, or if you want to lower it, but I would advise at least keep it 44. That is CD quality. And then 48 is, you know, higher. And if you're going up to dealing with DVDs or making movies and stuff, you might even want to go higher than that. Keep in mind that when you have this, it's going to tax out your memory. I mean, it's not a bad thing, but just be careful with how high you take it. Sampling rate is another thing. And if you want to adjust the bit depth, which is down in, where are we at? Audio data? Okay, yeah, audio data. So you can come here and file bit depths. I set it to 24, and normally I have this at 16. 16 is perfectly fine, but 24 is just going to give you a little bit more depth. So, and then render 32. 32, like I said, is normally something you probably use if you're doing movies or doing other things like that. But once you bounce it down to audio and you're trying to export it to your distribution company for CDs or online streaming, it's still going to be 16-bit. So just keep that in mind. Yeah, okay, so going from there, you go back up here, and once you set this to ASIO, come back up here, and then I'm using voice meter. We talked about that last time, so I have that selected. And then I can make sure my playback and record master is on whatever I need it to be on. So the latency here, I can't adjust it right here. I have to actually go into voice meter to adjust it because that's what I'm using for my device. So I would go into there, because see, normally if I was doing straight ASIO and I was using my Focusrite, I would be able to click on ASIO panel and it would pop up, but it's not popping up right now. So once you have all of this set, then you're cool for that. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and play the drum kit part that I put down, and you can listen to it and see how off I was. And I'm gonna tell you one reason why I was off, at least I think when I first recorded it. So here's what it sounds like. Okay, all right, so, and you can hear it with the metronome on. I'm at 80 BPM. Now, I'm thinking that, I don't know if I slowed this down at all for the other beat that I made. I think I kept it pretty much the same, but I can tell that I'm not in sync with the metronome. So that's the biggest thing first. So whatever you do when you're recording, make sure you always set your metronome where you want it to be. So, and you can go to record count in, so that way it can give you, you know, 4 beats or 8 beats of preparation, so that way when you come in recording your beat, you'll be fine. You can subdivide it however you want to. Right now I just got it 1, so it's basically, you know, a quarter note equals 1 beat, so that's where I have it right now. But yeah, you want to make sure that you have that set tempo wise. It seems like I'm going faster in my tempo. Let's play it solo. I mean, not solo, but let's play without the count. Okay, so I'm right there, which is basically sounds like 80. Let me hear this by itself. Okay, now this is slightly a little bit slower, so I might have been at like 85. Well, here's the problem now, because this is MIDI. Whenever you speed up your tempo, guess what? This speeds up as well. So one thing I could do, and if this is audio, is that there's an option on Cakewalk that allows you to stretch the time. It's over here, I think, and then you can do audio, a groove clip. You can do that. Stretch the tempo. That might help. I don't know if that's gonna work on this or not though, but I haven't used this as much. There's still a lot of stuff on here that I haven't used yet. So if somebody knows about that, then that's fine. They can go ahead and help. But if you had audio, you can stretch the audio. I've dealt with that quite a bit. So being able to stretch the audio clip to fit your project tempo. So we're gonna go aside from that. So here it is. I've got this pattern where it seems like I'm playing faster than what I really did. Now, here's the first step. I'm gonna take this. I got it. It's at 80. I'll check that for a second. I'm gonna go up here to process. You can press Q as well, or you can go up to process and press quantize. So you have quantize, and then the way this work is, if you're familiar with music notation or music rhythm, these are quantized in 16th notes. So if my tempo is here, 16th note, this is my quarter note, 8th notes is 1 and 2 and 3 and 16. Okay, all right, so that's my 16th notes. So anything that falls in that 16 note gap, so like if I'm going doot 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 gus do 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 got do gus do 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 got do. Okay, so that do. Now that does not fall in 16. So that's one reason why your pattern might be off, is because a lot of times we tend to swing things and we give it a triplet feel. Now there is an option for a triplet feel. Now it's crazy, like this software, and I know Sonar, all the Sonars are like this. I want to say Sonar 3, maybe after Sonar 3, everything up from Sonar 3, Sonar Professional, all of them have this option where it just goes up to a 30-second dotted note. Years ago, Cakewalk used to go all the way up to like 128th note. And that would be crazy, because that would make it more where you need, like if you were doing some really intricate rhythms, then you'd be able to quantize and make it fit a little better. Options over here, the strength is at 100%, so that means that we want it to fully quantize it. The swing is at 50%, which is half, so it's not underswung, it's not overswung. If I was to adjust that, I can raise this percent some, and it's going to make it kind of swing a little bit. The window is 100% offset. I can offset by a few ticks. This is kind of similar to nudging. Like if I want to nudge the whole thing, I can nudge it to the left slightly, like 1 or 2 steps or something like that, and it'll make it slightly behind the beat. And if I nudge it to the right, it'll make it like slightly ahead of the beat. You can do note durations. Sometimes you have to play with this to get the best sound. So, but typically this is how it does only notes and lyrics. If it's MIDI, and then MIDI event start times, and the start time is basically when the note starts. So like if it starts, if it was 1, colon 03 or something like 003, then you really want to start on beat 1, perfectly on beat 1, so it'll scoot it over to where it's supposed to be. You can audition this here, so if I wanted to hear what it was going to sound like, I can do that. I mean, that's a high group. Scuts, boots, guts, boots, scuts. Yeah, that's high. Little mix. Mix meter got like a 3 against 5 time, 5/8, I guess. 2, 3, 4, 5. 7 maybe. I'm all over the place. Let me get back to the point. That's why sometimes these things end up going so long, is because there's so many things going in my head. I'll be thinking about other stuff. Okay. All right. So anyway, so I want to quantize this. I'll quantize it to 16th. And let's hear what it sounds like now. Press W. W on the keyboard. If you press W, that'll rewind it back to the beginning. Okay, now I'm gonna try something. I'm gonna try moving this over. Now, even though I know it started after the beat, but this might make a difference if I move it over here. Let's see if it lines up better. All right, I'm gonna move it back over. Well, you try getting jiggy with that, boy. You can dance that, can't you? It's a lot of hiccups and syncopations in there. A lot of hemiola, which we call implied different, a little bit of different time signatures implied in a standard time signature, like if you was in 4, but you feel like it's in 7 or in 3 or 5 or 9 or something like that. There's a lot of accents going on there. So what I'm gonna do is I want to make this simple so I can kind of know in my head what I want this beat to be. And that's what you need to know as a musician or as a producer. If you're producing, you need to know what you want your beat to sound like. And you might listen to other records to get a reference for that. If you can beatbox it or sing it, that helps. I do that quite a bit, like on a lot of my songs. I try to do some, like my ideas first. I'll kind of get the little beatbox going together, and that gives me an idea what I want the song to sound like. So I can be like, boons, ka-doom, boons, ka-doom, boons, ka-doom. Okay, so when I hear that, I hear everything in my head. So, and I'm able to sing it, and I'll actually record that part first, and I'll lay it down. Matter of fact, I got a few songs that are just all acapella. That's what I'm working on right now. I was working on an acapella album, and I did a remix to Rain by SWV. You can check that out. The link will be below. You can check that out. It's everywhere. So I did that, and it's like a new arrangement. I wrote some extra parts to it, and it's like a lot of jazz harmony, a lot of close intervals, like real close. So I'm pretty excited about that. But I'm working on an acapella album. That's basically the first single to that album. I love acapella music, and I think it's the voice is the original instrument. So it was a thing that we had way before drums or anything else, or cymbals or anything else were invented. Whew. Okay. All right. I hope y'all still with me. All right. Let's go ahead and get back into this. So I have quantized it down, and maybe I don't like that quantization. I can go up and press edit, and I can do Control Z a few times to get back to my quantize. So I can go Control Z, and then Control Z. All right, and then I think I'm back to where it was. Let's see. Okay, I don't have a plan. Let's do this. Okay, so I think pretty much got it back to where I was at. So if you don't like the quantization, and sometimes quantization doesn't work well, and sometimes it's better just to do it by yourself. So if you feel like you're in this situation, then you can go back and you can try it again. And I can say, oh, maybe I want to do 16th note triplet. Maybe I'll try that. See how that feels. Okay, and I know that's not it because that's not what I want. But I want boots, cuts, boots, cuts, boots, cuts, boots, 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 cuts, something like that. Basically, gadoot, gadoot, gadoot. All right, so how are we going to obtain this goal of ours? We're going to go to one of my favorite tools. And if you're not used to notation, this might scare you, but it's okay because hopefully I may help you with it. All right, first off, I only want to see this, so I'm gonna click on it again. So you can play it, you can click on Alt-6 to staff view. All right, I got an SI drum. If you wanted to only select certain tracks, then you can go up here to tracks and you can do pick tracks or show next track or show previous track. So I'm just looking at this one track. Now, this is drum kit. Okay, and this may look confusing to some people. When it comes to reading notation, notation is always hard to read, to be honest. It takes a lot of practice, just like it takes practice to build your ear and your hearing, not your hearing, but your ear training, being able to recognize chord intervals and chord qualities and things like that. So when it comes to notation, here's a few things that you can do. You can view it. So if you go to view, you can display resolution, and right now I got to display the 32nd notes. I can display the 16th notes, and then it's gonna look a little bit more nicer and neater. And I might keep it there for what I really needed to do. But keep in mind that if you have some beats that have some 30-second notes in it, so if that's the quarter note, eighth notes, 16th notes, 30-second notes. Okay. All right, so okay. So those are 30-second notes, which are very fast. If you have some beats that you're going to be having some 30-second notes in there, like you know, if you're going to do stuff like that, you might want to have this at 30-second notes so you can see the 30-second notes. I got this thing in my way. Let me move this out the way so I can see and drag this over just a little bit. Minimize this, maximize it. Okay. All right, and then I can scroll down if I need to, and I can scroll over here at the bottom. All right, so guess what? We're starting at beat 1. So do I want my drum to start at beat 1? Yes, I do. In this case, I really do. So now what I would suggest first is go back and quantize this. Let's go back out of this. I think I quantized it once before. I'm gonna quantize it back to close to what I really wanted at, and that's and I'm gonna say 16. And I could put on note durations. Let's see if that helps. Sometimes it helps. So let's see. And then I'm gonna slide this over. So now everything should start on beat 1. Okay, now I'm gonna move it back to what it was. I'll keep it there. Okay, so now when I go back into it, let's look at it. Okay, actually I'm still recording. All right, staff view. All right, now it's here. Let's go back to the beginning. And then I can see that it's on the 8th note. So the first 8th note is a rest, and it's starting the 8th note late. So here's a rule of thumb when you're dealing with this notation. You don't even have to go through and click the notes and put them where you want to. You can go to the time. And this deals with the time measurement of each beat. So the rule of thumb is everything is, for the most part, in increments of 60, if you want to put it like that, or maybe even 30. If you're dealing with quarter notes, it's pretty simple. Everything falls on the downbeat. So this would be 0.1, 0.000, 0.2, etc. For every beat. If you're dealing with 8th notes, the first 8th note is going to fall on 480, and then the second 8th note would be on 000. So this would be, if I wanted this to start, and if I wanted 2 8th notes in the beginning, like if I want to go boot, boot, cut, I can do that. I'm going to send this to 0. And now you see that bass drum move right here on beat 1. And then I can take my pencil tool, and then I can write another bass drum part. And it's right on 480. So now I can listen to that, just play that part. Okay, now you're asking, okay, that doesn't sound right. Okay, and the reason why it doesn't sound right is because I did not start, when I started coming in, I didn't start on beat 1. So now let me go back again, and I'm gonna slide this back to beat 1. And then let's try to create this. Now this is tedious, and you don't have to really do this, but push come to shove, if you really get to the point where it's just so bad, you just need to record it again. And take your time. The good thing about looping is that you can loop, 4 measures, and you can copy and paste that 4 measures, however long you want to do it for. So once you get your beat solid for a good 2 to 4 bars, then you could just copy and paste that sucker. No need to keep recording the same thing over and over again. But if you're like me, normally when I used to write drums, I have a few songs on my first EP release that I did last April, and you can see the link below for that. That's was like pretty awesome for me because I was heavy in Finale when I was in college. Then this stuff was written like 15, 20 years ago, so it was written a long time ago. But then I was really heavy into Finale and notating every single thing that I did. So I notated this one song. It took me about a month to work on it. I notated every single part. I played the whole drum part out notation wise. Well, I didn't play it, but I like put the notation in. So, and I had in my head what I wanted to sound like, and this is where I really got good at being able to deal with this notation. So, okay, so here we go. I moved it over to the beginning. Let's go back to the staff view now, and I might have to mess with this some more. Okay, so I know it's right there. Boots, guts, boots. And what's off right here is this beat right here, okay, which is the hi-hat. And if you don't know where the bass drum is, the notation is always different depending on what you're playing on. In this particular kit, my bass drum is here, which is C in bass clef, and then F sharp is the hi-hat, and then the snare is on E, which I don't know if you can see it, but it's like right here. So I can click on that and say, oh, the snare is on 2, and that's where I need the snare to be. I don't want this hi-hat on 2. Maybe I want boots. Maybe I want boots, cut, boots, cut. But if I want the hi-hat there, that's fine. It can stay right there. But this hi-hat, I don't want this right there. Right now it's set to 240. So eighth notes are 480 and 0. 16th notes, you just take half of that divided basically by 2. So 480 divided by 2 is 240. So every 240 will give you the 16th notes. So 240, 480, 720, and then back to 0. For 32nd notes, you divide the 240 by 2, which give you 120. 120, 240, 360, 480, 600, 720, and I can't remember the last one, 840, 8 something like that. I can't remember. When it so keep in mind that when you get to these last few digits, I think it only goes up to 949. I think so. You can keep going. Let's try this. 900, and then you can keep going up this way. And I think it stops at 949. Maybe it's 9. Okay, well, it goes 950. Okay, there it is. I know it's somewhere. Okay, so 959 is where it stops at. So once you get to here, then you're back at the top. All right, so this beat was right here. I want it to be an eighth note. So I'm going to punch in 2 colon 480. I think that's right. All right, and so now that moves it over. Okay, okay, and so we got this. So the eighth note is right here. Now we got this. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. We have this bass drum, which is on the 16th note, but I don't want it to be on the 16th note. I want it to be on 3, beat 3. So I move it over, and then we have this right here, which is the hi-hat. And I want it to be on 3 as well. Okay. Okay. And then I would have to come here, and then I can decide if I want this note at all. I could delete that note if I want it. So you just press, just highlight over it, right click on it, and delete. Be careful because when you left click, you add a note. So right click if you have a mouse or on your keypad, whichever, you can do that. Right click and then delete. Okay. All right. So I mean, and then you just go through this, and I might focus on doing 1 to 2 measures of this and get a good foundation, and then I can go from there. But like I said, last time when I recorded this, the reason why this was off so much is because my latency was so bad. So make sure you fix that issue first. The latency has got to be on point. No pun intended. It's gotta be on time. So that way you won't have this many hindrances. So this is what I would be doing for this if I wanted to keep that beat, not like some elements of that beat, and I say, oh man, I kind of like the way I did that beat, but I just want some parts to be in tune. So, and I might like boots, guts, boots, gut, boots. I mean, I might like that. Guts, boots, gut, boots. Okay, guts, boot, guts. So then I got this snare that's off over here. It comes in too early, so I can move that to 2. I just put 2:2. So now okay, and I keep playing with it and you build at it. So like I said, this is for those that are just sitting down and you're bored, you really got nothing to do. You just want to go and edit. But this is good practice. It also helps you kind of internalize what you read. And like a lot of times when you're reading the music, but you don't really know like sound wise how it sounds when you read. It's weird, it's like you can read a book, you can read all the pages, but when somebody asks you about what the book was about, you might only be able to quote like maybe 5 segments that you read about. And it's because your brain hasn't allowed enough time to internalize everything that you're reading. So when you're reading music, a lot of times people are reading music because they have to get the song, they don't have time to really learn the song, or that's the only way the song is provided to them. Or maybe your ear is not as good at picking up the music. Or maybe somebody puts the music right in front of you and they want you to read this part for this play or this production, and you just got to read it. But at the point, you got to kind of dig into it and hopefully internalize it and portray the music the way the composer intended for it to be, played. So a lot of times that's hard. And same thing with composition or being a producer yourself. Making a beat is cool, but once you get behind and you learn the instruments and you learn what the brass player, the trumpet player has to go through to hit the certain notes that you put on there and that they can't really hit, but you want them to hit the notes. Or the drummer who says, hey man, if you just write these parts out for me, it would be so much easier. And you're like, yeah, I don't know how to write music. I don't know how to write notation out. So, but that might be another lesson. Maybe I'll do some training on that, like notation for drums, like, how to read the staff. That might be a good video. What do you all think? What do you think? You think I should do that next? If you think I should do that, put a, comment below and say, hey, I'd like to see that. Reading notation for drums is one of the most tedious things. And actually, I can't say it's the most tedious. It's one of the most. Piano definitely can be intricate, and reading strings and even horn parts are, they're all, we missed the good old days when it was just one single melody line and you're like la 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 la, you're just doing stuff like that and you're like, oh, this is so easy breezy, and then somebody stacks the treble and the bass clef on you grand staff, and there's 30-second notes going all across the page, and you're like, anyway. Well, anyway, you all, I'm going to stop here. One more thing I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to look at the other beat that I made last time. And hopefully I'm still recording. So let me mute this real quick. And this is the one I recorded in my second video, dealing with OBS. So, and I can look at how this sounds down at the beginning. It sounds like I'm in time, but I'm not quite on the groove that you think I would be on. It's like goot, 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 cut, goot, goot, goot. Basically that. Goot, goot, cut. So you used to the drums, you used to snare drum being on beat 2 and 4. Are somewhere in the vision, like the and of 2 or the I of 2, but this time it's on beat 3. One song that brings back memories. And I wasn't thinking about that beat when I was actually doing this. Was Commodore's Zoom starts off like that. You know, it's like that. It starts off like that, basically. Phenomenal song. But yeah, so that whole, like, it makes the listener feel like you're in a totally different time signature or something like that. You're like, what is going on? But then all the beat comes in. So that's kind of where this switches around. Let me look at that real quick in the stat view and see what this one looks like. So once again, if I only want to see this one track, I can go up to tracks. I can go pick track, and I can just click on that one and press OK. And my phone is vibrating, but I'm not going to answer that right now. You might hear it. So here it is. And this looks so much cleaner. Look at that. Okay, so notice at the top, we're in bass clef again. In this case, it's F sharp. In most cases, in MIDI, F sharp is always the closed hi-hat, and then A sharp is always the open hi-hat, and G sharp, which is in between the two notes, is the sock that we use for jazz when we're trying to, you know, keep the sock on 2 and 4 for the time wise. So this F sharp, it looks perfect. Like, it's going all across. Eighth notes look all perfect. They're just in line with each other. And let's look at it. So let's look at the note. This is 0. It's right on the money. This one should be 480. And then this should be, clicked on the wrong thing. This should be 2. Okay, so those are the eighth notes. All right, and then bass drum is here. It's on 1. And then this bass drum is on 2. So I can do that. And then if I wanted to add another note, I can do that there. And I can go back here, and if I want to view it, display resolution, I got it on 30-second notes. I could change it to 30-second notes, and maybe I want to add another bass drum right here. I think if it lets me. Okay, maybe not. Okay. Sometimes it's always hard to add these extra notes. Okay. Yeah, I don't like that. Sometimes it's hard to add them. Oh, and another thing to keep in mind too as well is that sometimes when you add extra notes, it may look like they're all stacked on top of each other. I know when you don't have it in the right view, so this is supposed to be in 30-second notes, but if I so I can do that. I put that little there. That's like a triplet beat. 1600. I mean, 600 rather. If you saw that. So anyway, I'm just having fun. And sometimes I'll have fun with this. So, you know, there's a million different ways that you can make beats. You can make beats now with your keyboard. You can go in there, and if you don't get it quite like you want it, you can go in there and change your notation. You can make beats with the step sequencer, which I'll talk about in another video. You can make it with your keyboard. You can make it with your pad if you got like a Kaya, MPC or something like that. You can do it vocally, and I've made some songs that, like, you know, basically all the percussion you hear, like on that song Rain, everything that you hear, including the bass drum, is all my voice. It's 2 basically bass drum recordings. So I recorded one beat, like I was like boop, or like kind of like that to give the punch, and then I did like the to get more of the bottom end presence. And I EQ'd them and, you know, gated them and all that kind of stuff, and to make them sound united, and that's the bass drum on it. And I think it sounds fat. I was listening to it in the car, and I said, God, this is fat. This bass drum is fat, like, you know, to be a vocal. So I'm just letting you know, hey, sometimes think outside the box and do some stuff with your vocals. You know, Timbaland is one that does it. Justin Timberlake does it. Many other musicians do it all the time. You know, it was once said, and I don't know who said it, but a whole lot of people said it, that if you can sing it, then you can play it. Now, sometimes that's not always the case, but yeah, but if you have the ability to play, that's what they should have said. If you have the ability to play something, because first you got to know how to play something, you know, like you can't, you know, if you never played the piano before, if you hear 30-second notes and you singing 30-second notes, you know, all that type of stuff, and that's what you're singing. But when you sit down at the piano, your fingers are not going to move like that just yet. You know, you got to work on it. But once you have it in your mind, all of this is just transferring it to your fingers, you know. So keep that in mind, that it is helpful to be able to sing or do stuff with your voice. It's another instrument, and so many possibilities can be brought out of the voice, especially with technology when you can overdub and do multi-tracking. All right, so anyway, this is a tutorial for Cakewalk. I hope you all have enjoyed it. I hope it helps you. And I look forward to the next video. Please make sure that you subscribe. Make sure you like and hit the notification bell so that way you'll know every time that I post something. I'm trying to get in the habit of posting once a week, but sometimes I'm so excited I want to post 2 or 3 times a week. So, and I'm also sending notes in the community. So check the community page. I always try to post something there like once a week or maybe twice a week. Just talking about things, random things. I'll do some forms and some surveys maybe later on. Other than that, you all enjoy your day, you enjoy your night, you enjoy your week. This is JustDaNorm, signing out.